Hey everyone, welcome to the good, the bad, and the what if of Elden Ring Nightreign. So, Elden Ring, it is sort of people have said that it's a content, not a content, an asset flip of Elden Ring, and I don't want to say it is because it is a different game and stuff, but you get a lot of the elements from Elden Ring. You get a lot of the weapons and the enemies and a lot of different things from Elden Ring, and they just kind of put it in here. But they turned it into a sort of, it's not a battle royale, but it follows a sort of, oh wait, I wasn't trying to queue up with people, but now I can talk about the people. But the way the game plays, it's not like Elden Ring or Dark Souls or other games, because Elden Ring is open world, Dark Souls is linear, but they all have the same sort of mostly linear playstyle where you fight a boss, you get context, you go, you fight another boss, and then you sort of progress in a direct way. Here, you're playing rounds over and over again where you either match up with two other people and play in a trio, or you play alone. Which playing in trios is way better than playing alone. I tried, and I don't know if it's just because of scaling or just straight up that I'm bad at the game, but it's just not that fun. I die a lot more. I feel like I run out of more time. But this game, you don't have the freedom, you don't have as much freedom to explore. But let's go ahead and talk about the good stuff or the good parts of this game. Now, the good stuff is that there are different classes and stuff, so it feels a little more roguelike than other games or than the other Souls-like games because you have different classes, and in this game you have abilities. It's not just like the weapon arts that were in Elden Ring and Dark Souls and stuff. They still have their weapon arts and stuff that you can use your FP and your stamina and stuff. But you also have class skills like, I probably should have used it, but this character specifically, because there are 8 different characters, you start with 6, you have to unlock the other 2, but she does damage, and then when you use it, it does secondary damage. But everyone has different things, like this character that we're playing with, they're both the other characters. They can summon stuff, and I can find an item to let me summon, but they innately have summon skills. And honestly, like, kind of like the map. I like the atmosphere and stuff. There's enemies scattered throughout, and I like the change in the story, the new story, because it's not about the Earth Tree anymore. It's more about what happened after the Earth Tree got burned. So it is connected and it is tied to Elden Ring, which I like. But now it's about the Night Lord and how the Night came and did other stuff and whatever. I mean, I need to read a little bit more of the lore. It's always, to me, the lore's always been a little elusive when it comes to Souls games, but just because there's a lot of reading and unreading. But that's kind of what I think is the most positive. I mean, positive also because it's a Souls-like game. I just really like Souls-like games, which is the reason I bought it on release. But yeah, it plays. It's a little faster, which I do kind of like. It helps with running around and exploring. You sprint way faster than the other ones. Um, but let's go ahead and talk about the negatives, which I have a little bit more to say. But the main negative that I have about this game is one, as I mentioned earlier, it's kind of hard to play alone. You sort of need to play in a team of 3, and thankfully, randoms, like, people who are playing this game are people who play Souls-like games, and they take these games usually pretty seriously, and so they're not gonna cause you too much trouble. But you do run into some issues sometimes of somebody disconnecting or somebody just not following with the team and leaving everyone alone. But thankfully, even if somebody does roam around, the souls are shared. So it's kind of fine, depending, usually however people play. But yeah, I just kind of wish that you could play this game alone more. because sometimes the friends that I play with, even though I can play randoms, I'd rather play with my friends. They're not always on. But my main issue with this game is the fact that, I didn't even show you the map, but the fact that this game plays Fortnite a little bit. You have this giant circle, and then after some time, the circle starts closing, and then similar to Fortnite and the storm, you take damage when you're outside of the circle. And I feel like, I know it's supposed to add urgency to the game, and you know, you're not supposed to just roam around forever, but sometimes there's a boss that's just outside of the circle, and you want to fight that boss for more runes or a better drop or whatever the reason may be. But the thing is, if you miss it just by a little bit, because Souls games, they're hard, they're difficult, they're meant to be difficult. I don't want it to be easy, but sometimes you're just limited on the time, and I don't like that, because you really want to kill this enemy, kill this boss, and you're super close, but then the storm comes, and then you lose your souls if you die, you don't get all the XP, you lose all the time that you put in towards that boss, and then you're kind of stuck. Like right now you can see the storm is moving, so say it wouldn't be this far, but say you're fighting something here, the storm is going to move all the way to like about here, oh no, to this circle, it shows you. And so you miss out that whole section. Like, we are here, we just started, I can't explore any of this anymore. Which, again, that's sort of the gameplay loop they went with, but that's my main issue with the game. Oh, otherwise, it's pretty fun, especially if you're playing with friends, but that's something I would change, which brings us to the what if. What if, instead of having a circle that closes over time like in Fortnite, instead they did something like Risk of Rain? Because Risk of Rain, what they do, you're allowed to stay on the first map as long as you want, but in Risk of Rain there's a little timer at the top, and if you stay for a really long time, all the enemies scale. Regular enemies, boss enemies, I mean, I guess those are the only enemies, but all the enemies scale. Like, here's a fire, you stand on the fire, you start taking damage. But I would have rather them sort of scale all the enemies like up a level every, I don't know, minute, or whatever the scaling would have been. I don't know anything about games and scaling, but if they did that, then I could freely explore all this. Maybe I get yelled at from my teammates, which I guess another negative thing is they don't really have much communication, so we can ping on the map, but that's pretty much it. But what I'm saying for the what if is, what if they change it to Risk of Rain, because that way you can freely explore the whole map, or if you're confident, because the bosses usually are varied to a pool of 2 or 3 different ones depending on what the main Night Lord you're fighting is. And so if you're confident on one boss, you can sort of, you know, get to level 3 or whatever your planned level would be and go fight it as soon as possible so that it's not as difficult. Or if you know you might need some more help, or you're looking for a very specific item to apply to your build, because here all the passives, like this one, successful guarding up poise and improved damage negation, those all apply constantly because you have 6 slots, so anything in those 6 slots, it will always be applying towards your build. So that's something that I would change, but that's basically it. So in terms of who, oh, well, I mean, my score for this game, I would give this a 7 out of 10. I thought I was going to give it a higher score because Souls-like games are some of my favorites. It's one of my favorite genres, specifically Elden Ring. I spent so much time and I really like that game a lot. But I'm going to give this game a 7 out of 10. And in terms of who I would recommend this to, I would say obviously Souls-like players, Elden Ring enjoyers, Dark Souls players. But if you like fast-paced and random RNG, you might enjoy this game a little more, because that's sort of what this game does with the storm closing and everything, because you're not allowed to just spend all your time doing exploration and stuff. So if you like exploration, which I do a lot, you might not like this game as much, which again is the reason I didn't like this game as much. But if you do just like kind of quick rounds of fighting enemies and fighting bosses and then resetting and jumping in again, then you'd probably like this game a little more. So yeah, this probably isn't recommended for those who spend a lot of time exploring. But either way, I still think it's a pretty good game. I don't know if I would pay $40 again, or if it's worth the $40. I would probably wait for a sale, but I think 30 is fair. But yeah, that's pretty much what I think about the game, and let me know what you think. I've been hearing that this game has been getting a lot of mixed reviews, so I can kind of see why. But let me know what you think. Is this game good? Did they choose a good direction for this, or was it a complete miss with the way that they restructured the game? But that's Elden Ring Nightreign. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next review.